Welcome, everybody, to Seattle Sports Union and our Seahawks podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. With me, once again, is the SoCal Seahawk, Rob English. How you doing today, Rob?
Abe, I am. I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I had a hard day at work today. I don't know if I mentioned before that I had a Ravens fan at work that I was talking a whole lot of mess to throughout all of last week, and made the mistake of Seahawks made the mistake yesterday, and left me hanging. So it was a rough day for me. And actually, what's worse, the mistake I did make, and I didn't even think about it till I was already at work. I wore a purple shirt today.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know where my brain was this morning, and maybe I got dressed and it was too dark. I don't know, but I put on a purple shirt. And they were like, "Well, what did they beat you so bad that you decided to switch teams, or what?" It was a rough day. It was a rough day.
So you had to take your medicine, huh?
I had to take all of my medicine.
Oh boy, oh boy. How much did you dish it out last week?
Oh, trust me. I mean, I did the guarantee. You
Uh-oh.
know, yeah, I did the Broadway Joe guarantee, and
Oh boy.
yeah. So that came
Well,
back to bite me.
look at it this way. You and I predicted that the Seahawks would win. I thought it'd be a low scoring event, but that didn't turn out to be the case. And I believe you had the score almost right on, only the wrong team won by double digits.
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned that. I actually hadn't even thought about that. I've been so upset about it. I didn't consider the fact that I nearly didn't call the score. Yeah, obviously in the opposite way. The one other thing that I also predicted was that Russell would throw his first pick. I'm a little upset that it had to be in such dramatic fashion. I would have rather it been, if you're gonna throw a pick, just throw a regular pick with a guy who intercepts the ball and falls down the
Yeah.
ground, and no
Yeah.
big deal. Maybe even one deep ball that flips the field, so it's almost like a punt. But no, we had
Right.
to go ahead and give him had to be a 6-point play, and that was unfortunate.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I believe you had Earl Thomas as the one picking it off, but you did mention the key to the game being Marcus Peters on your podcast on Saturday night. And yeah, he came through the not transfer, but the trade from the Rams to the Ravens paid off for them.
Absolutely, yeah, he was Johnny on the spot and right on time. Frankly, the pass was a duck. I think that when you watch the replay, if you see it from like the end zone cam, or it looks like I think it might have been the tight end, maybe Luke Wilson had like somebody had it looked like it maybe stepped in front of Russell's field of vision and was kind of hiding Peters from seeing him because Russell wouldn't typically just toss a ball out there to the
No.
flat like that. I mean, when you throw to the flat, you have to put some velocity on the ball because it's likely to get jumped. So, and Russell knows that. He does it very well. So I have to think that he, I don't think he brain farted. I think he actually just didn't see the guy.
I think that's very much the case. I got a question for you about the passing game, by the way. Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator, had 29 of the first 44 plays being pass plays. What happened to the run identity that this team was supposed to have?
Very interesting, right? I'm not sure. I mean, I almost thought maybe maybe the point of it was to be a tendency breaker, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. And frankly, the game was going well early. I did see a couple. There was one play in particular that has been stuck in my brain since it happened. And I don't know if it was second or I think it might still have been first quarter. Chris Carson had just taken the ball for a good gain, maybe 4 or 5, somewhere between 4 and 6 yards. It was a good gain. We had a 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
And rather than just giving the ball to Carson or anybody else who could run the ball for our team, we did one of those little wide receiver flare passes out to Tyler Lockett. The Baltimore defense was right on it. He got stopped for a little to no gain, maybe even a loss, maybe a slight loss, and we kicked the ball away. And it was that when you look at it like that, I'm thinking, okay, we did too much passing. I would have I'm of the opinion, us being a run first team, even though we kind of complain when we don't break away from it often enough. But if you're going to be a running team, when it's early in the game and you need some short yardage, the guy's getting over 4 yards a carry, give him the ball, let him pound it forward. I'd much rather us lose at what we are good at than fail at what we know we're not that great at. you know?
And you know what, though? I mean, it persisted through the rest of the game. We only had, a little over 20 rushing attempts, and we had, passing attempts in the 40s. And it seemed like like you said, beginning of the game, it probably was a tendency breaker, and the strength of the Baltimore defense had been the run defense. But I don't know. I feel like we continued to keep passing it, and it's just, why not use the strength of your team, at least what and run the ball. We weren't getting blown out, and it seemed like they panicked maybe.
It definitely does seem that way, honestly, I don't know. Maybe not so much panic. I feel like maybe we felt like we needed to jump on them. It didn't work out. We threw the ball a lot. We had a lot of miscues in the passing game, but I don't know. I'm shooting from the hip at this point. Maybe we felt like we needed to throw the ball to get downfield, maybe get some quick scores, because we were going to need to score some points to win this game. It just, it's one of those games where, everything goes the wrong way, kind of,
But it did it though? When you take a look at the rushing attempts of the 25, 24, whatever it was, mid-20s, only one went to CJ Procise.
Jury's out on Procise. As soon as I think that Procise is, maybe seeing his last days and maybe he's, I don't think he's actually been I don't think he's been a healthy scratch on the roster yet, but he certainly goes, he's gone. Yeah, I think he's just coming off an injury, but he's being used, it seems, less and less.
And I want to know why, because he ran it for 17 yards, and I was thinking to myself, that was one of our best runs. I think that was our best run of the day. And why isn't he getting the ball more and spelling Chris Carson?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it may have something to do with the fact that without Carson on the field, the defense might have been tending to go toward the pass more. I mean, maybe he found daylight on that run because it was him and not Chris Carson. I mean, it could be anything. But yeah, to your point, yeah, we just haven't seen Procise. We haven't seen him much at all lately. I think he was healthy last week and we didn't see him, or was he hurt? I think it was Penny that was hurt, right?
Yeah, maybe. I saw Penny out there at least once, but he didn't have anything to do. Procise was out there maybe the once, and he had a
right.
And I just kind of wonder, that being the case, if the defense thinks if Procise is in and it's going to be a pass, then why not do it more?
Right. I mean, I don't know how many times you can go to the well with that concept, but I get it. You know what I mean? It makes sense. I mean, this is football, right? All you can do is run or pass. So it's about making the other team think you're going to do the thing that you're not going to do, but you might do it, but you won't do it, but you could do it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Again, if you look at the passing game, we had a lot of guys with multiple catches. So did the game plan not work? I mean, we only can say that it didn't because we didn't win, right? If it was somehow that they're able to turn that game plan into a victory, we have a different conversation.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. The game plan didn't work. It was a departure from what we normally do. And talk about the tight ends, or talk about the receivers and all the different receivers that caught the ball. As far as the tight ends go, I'm not sure why Jacob Hollister gets more targets than Luke Wilson. I'm just baffled by this entire offensive effort. It doesn't seem like
I mean, so first of all, Luke Wilson is my tight end in fantasy. At least this week he was, because I had actually just kind of brain farted and forgot to go get my fantasy team fixed up for this weekend, and I still had Will Dissly who surprisingly has been who was a pretty good fantasy tight end throughout the first few weeks of the year.
Oh yeah.
But he's done, and so I went to go find. I'm like, I gotta find a tight end, and there was Luke Wilson. I'm like, okay, Luke is the only guy out there. Let me go ahead and grab him. I'm sure he'll get a couple of catches at the very least. Maybe I'll get lucky. He'll catch one in the end zone. But he didn't get a single. He didn't get a single catch. I don't even know if he got a target. I do remember seeing him on the field a couple of times. Matter of fact, I think he had a penalty against him, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, Hollister seemed to get the bulk of it. I don't know. Did he get it from the tight end position or the fullback position? I'm not sure.
Tight end. Yeah, they had Belor at the fullback.
Oh, okay.
Who played a lot. He played a lot more snaps than I thought he was going to get.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking, like, okay, like what's he doing out there? You know what I mean? Like, so are we gonna, are we gonna go a little more, power, or, what I was doing the whole game? I was scratching my head. I don't know about you, but I was scratching my head a lot.
Yeah, I was too. It didn't seem like anything made sense. I wrote this in my article on www.seattlesportsunion.com. I couldn't understand how the Ravens blitz managed to defeat the Seahawks. Were they doing something different that we hadn't seen from the other teams? Or is there a blueprint? And maybe Earl Thomas gave them the secret. Just blitz. Since we're missing 2/3 or 2/5 of our offensive line.
Well, I mean, the blitz and it was, whereas it wasn't. I don't think the blitz was personally. I didn't find the Ravens blitz to be all that big of a deal. I mean, what they get, 1 sack?
They got 1 sack, but it was all the hurries that
yeah, he definitely was hurried.
Caused.
But it was like, but to me, it didn't look too much different than what we see Russell having to do on a weekly basis anyway. It's just that typically when Russell ducks down and comes out of a pile that he has no business coming out of, that he's able to he looks downfield and completes a pass. And Sunday he would do that same thing, and it just the pass didn't get completed. There was one where he just where he ducked down. Who was it that came around the edge on him? And God, who was it? I can't remember who it was. He came around the edge and he ducked through and came out, and it's unbelievable. And just as before before somebody got to him, he threw the ball over and it just kind of wobbled on its way out to the supposed receiver. And it just skipped the ground. Might have been Jerron Brown. Just couldn't get it to him. And I'm like, man, that's a play that we normally hit, and that would have been a great play. That would have been another masterful play by Russell Wilson. It just didn't hit on this day, and it's kind of how it went all game.
By the way, you called it on your Saturday night podcast that the rain might affect the game, and I wonder if in scenarios like that, perhaps it slipped out of Wilson's hand.
Yeah, I have to think that the rain played an issue in it. I mean, rain always does. I think thank goodness footing wasn't an issue in this game. But everything's a little bit slower, a little bit slipperier in the rain. I have to assume that the fumble by Metcalf late in the game was kind of a rain related thing. I mean, obviously he was switching hands, but when the ball is dry, maybe that doesn't happen, But yeah, I think the rain. Metcalf did drop a ball early on a comeback route, that I think, when it's dry, you just make that catch.
Yeah, and that Metcalf fumble, that was not forced. I think that ball was slippery, and he just didn't have a handle on it.
Right. And we can call it a rookie mistake. He's learning. One thing though, if I can digress on Metcalf, is he's making me a little bit nervous. And what I mean by that is, as great as he is, he's dynamic, he's got speed, he's got size, he's strong. But I don't know, maybe you've noticed it as well. When he catches the football, are you seeing a little too much of the bobble when he catches the football?
I'll have to keep an eye on that. No, I have not.
To go back, if you just go onto YouTube or ESPN and watch the highlights of his catches. A few of his catches actually. He makes the catch, but there's a bobble in there. He's not catching it as sure-handed as I would appreciate seeing. And every time I see it, I'm thinking like, God, this kid, he's making great plays, but what game is it going to be? One of these times where he's open and he has it's all right there for him to make a great play, and he's going to bobble something and it's going to drop in, and we lose a game, or he bobbles it and he gets hit and it pops up in the air and it's picked off. I swear I just see it coming. And I hate to put bad juju out there, but I just see it coming,
All right, folks, we're going to have to check that out next week against Atlanta and maybe take a look at some of those YouTube videos, because I have not noticed that. But if you have, that's a good call out. Another interesting event, let's just call it an event, occurred during the Seahawks game. My buddy texted me that Marquis Blair got the start. He was at the game, and he was announced in the starting lineup. And lo and behold, there he was. Marquis Blair played 100% of the snaps on defense, and as well played 100% of the snaps on special teams. Is this a kid who has impressed Pete Carroll to the point where he replaced or Bradley McDougald, or is this a shot across the bow to the safeties? They're not getting the job done, and Pete's willing to put anybody in.
Well, I think it could be a little of both. The mantra of Pete Carroll is always compete, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody's job is concrete there, in Kirkland. So, it's you have to play your ass off, to really, to keep your job there. He makes it very clear. Now McDougald, he is still coming back from injury, so I think there may be that might have part to do with it. I don't know if he was 100% go. I don't know how much he practiced last week, but I'm pretty sure he's still on the mend. I think he's good to go this week though, so we'll see. But Tetrick Thompson, he flashed the other week. But Pete Carroll has said multiple times that Blair is and also and I'm trying to help me with the other safety's name.
Lano Hill.
Lano Hill, right? Both these guys that he wants to see them on the field, and he's just waiting for the opportunities to give them, the opportunities to get out there. And he's had high praises for Marquis Blair. And yesterday was his day. And I'm not sure who got beat on the deep ball early in the game, but aside for that, I think he played pretty well.
Yeah, that was Tetrick Thompson. However, if you look at that ball, I had to calm a lot of people down. And you know me, I'm the first one to jump on Tetrick Thompson when he fouls up. But if you look at that, he actually got a fingertip on that ball. Yeah. That was just a matter. Yeah, that was a matter of if the ball is 1 inch closer to him, that's knocked away. It was not bad defense. The guy got behind him. That's not extraordinarily good, but he made a play on the ball. That was about the best you could ask for. Also, take a look at Lamar Jackson's passing totals. That was the only deep pass they got away with. He went 9 of 20. That's terrible, by the way, folks. That's 45%. And he did all his damage on the ground.
Yeah, he did, and boy did he. That's what 250 something yards by one player. I mean, that's that's nothing to shake a stick at. It's I'm struggling to find the words. Yeah, he didn't do it a lot through the passing game out, minus that one big ball. But what he did do was use his feet, and not only rushing, but creating more time for him, in the pocket. He had a couple of passes that he was able to complete because he did, what we're so used to seeing Russell Wilson do. Jackson was, and I had said, I think in my night before podcast that, Seattle has historically played fairly well against mobile quarterbacks. And I always liken it back to, the times that we've seen Cam Newton. We were seeing Cam Newton when he was really in the prime of his mobility of, his time, in the league, being one of those mobile quarterbacks running for a lot of yards. And we've always hemmed him up. We saw Patrick Mahomes last year. We hemmed him up. We saw Deshaun Watson a few years ago, and we, didn't allow him to run on us a lot. We've seen Aaron Rodgers multiple times, and, we don't ever let them really kill us with their feet. But Lamar Jackson apparently is a cut above the rest because he really gashed us.
Yeah, but did he? I know he ran for 116 yards and 16 carries, but did he really gash us? Because the defense only gave up 16 points. Take that away, the Seahawks win. Take away the Metcalf fumble for return for a touchdown. Or no, it wasn't a return for a touchdown, it was a fumble. You take away the the interception return for a touchdown. I think the Seahawks defense totally shut him down in the passing game. And a one-dimensional.
Yeah, well, I mean, the passing game, sure. If you were able to corral Jackson's running ability, then yeah. I mean, yeah. Look at Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram was 12 for 46. I mean, so he didn't do much. But if we were able to hold Jackson down just the half of what he was able to do, they might be talking about. You might be a different narrative right now. But he did indeed gash us. I mean, again, you can say you would take the running game. Okay, he had 116 yards and 14 carries. Yeah, but 8 yards a clip. That's a first down every other time he runs the ball. In the passing game, 143 yards. Again, one player, 250 yards on a touchdown. I mean, that's significant to any stat line to any box score.
I guess so, but I mean, like, if you're just going to tell me that, like, if you're to tell me Saturday night Seahawks defense will give up 16 points, I'll tell you we win that game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, the turnovers don't help. You know what I mean? And short fields don't help. The defense gave up 16 points. Yeah, so if we take away our real big mistakes, it changes the whole look of it. However, once the ball is back in the opposing team's hands, you still got to go out there to stop them. Whether you give them the ball, in your own red zone, or whether you give them the ball, at their own 1 yard line, you got to stop them. You got to play the situation that's before you. And he was able to do, to put up, to do what he did. If we had stopped some of those 16 points, maybe we still have a different story. They scored 16. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's ugly.
So let's take a look at what the defense could have done differently. In my opinion, I focus on Jarran Reed, and I noticed he played an abnormally large amount of the snaps, and I had to go look it up on the internet to see how many plays he was in. He was in 85% of the plays. This is a guy who hasn't played for 6 weeks. I don't know why they don't lean a little bit more on, guys like Rasheem Green or Quentin Jefferson was supposed to be a starter, and I never saw him on the field.
I certainly don't remember hearing his name. Jarran Reed, he did play a lot. Leading up to the game, Pete Carroll had a lot to say about the fact that Jarran Reed was absolutely adamant about getting on the field, and he had been, really keeping in shape and everything while he was off. But there was some apprehension about, his football shape. You know what I mean? Him being the football rhythm. If you're not in it, it's one of those things you definitely lose if you don't use. But he played most of the game, but he didn't actually record a tackle. So is it because he was rusty? I imagine you have to attribute it to that. But, I think he was in on a couple of assists, but he actually didn't record any solo tackles. So maybe by this time next week, we'll be saying a different story about him.
Did you see Bobby Wagner's ranked number 3 in the NFL in tackles? He has 69.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, are we even surprised? Bobby Wagner just finds a way to be around the ball always. It's the dude's amazing, and he always does it so quietly. Even during the off season and later times, people talk about Bobby Wagner about being one of the best, but he doesn't. I guess it's just that Pacific Northwest, thing. We don't get a lot of that praise, but Bobby Wagner is I'll just say he's the best linebacker in football. I don't know who's truly better than him. You might see guys that flash, but who's better than Bobby Wagner? Just case closed. Better. I don't know.
Case closed. Yeah.
Right. So
he set the Seahawks record for most tackles in a career, 985. So he's going to have over 1,000 tackles in his career.
That's amazing. That's amazing, and done quietly. Every bit of it. Every season that he logs those tackles, he does it quietly.
Yep.
So,
question for you, because this was a point of emphasis for you on this show last week, and as well on your own show on Saturday night. You said that this was a pivotal game. This was I forget the exact words you used, but this was a turning point game, make or break game. Earl Thomas seemed to treat it like it was, but it didn't seem like the Seahawks did.
Yeah. Turning point game, statement game. Yeah. However you want to call it.
Did you say, you might've said signature? It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The message is the same, right? It definitely was, I believe. And then, when I really went further into that concept, that thought process, I started thinking, okay, who is it a bigger deal for? We got the Ravens coming into Seattle. Playing at the Clink is no walk in the park for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. They were 4-2 coming in, looking like a strong team, trying to make their case as being a force in the AFC. It was really, the onus, I think, was on them to go in there and win a hard game on the road. At the same time, you look at Seattle, who's really just trying to make sure that the rest of the world knows that we indeed are legit.
Yep.
And we have to protect our home turf against a team that we want everyone to know that we're better than, and you can't lose games at home. That's just the number one rule. So I don't know. I have trouble trying to decide which means more for who. But it definitely hurts us. I feel like teams just really aren't scared of the Clink anymore. I feel like that you can let Lamar Jackson come in, a rookie. Yeah, he's poised. Yeah, he's great. He's dynamic. But the Clink used to rattle people. You know? I remember when the Clink had Colin Kaepernick rattled all over the place, and many other quarterbacks like him. And now these guys, they come in there and they handle their business. I don't know if it's the 12s or have we screamed ourselves out, or are they just preparing better?
Let's do that, Rob. Let's turn on the fans.
It's your fault. 12s, step your game up.
Step it up, yeah. Actually, it's very interesting though. The two losses that the Seahawks have this year were both blowouts. The Saints game was a blowout, even though the final score didn't look like it. I mean, we had some garbage time points, but they seem like games that I know I had us as the winners. I'm not unbiased, obviously, but I was thinking to myself, no Drew Brees, we're gonna kill the Saints. This Baltimore Ravens team barely beat. Who did they barely beat? There was a team. Was it the Cardinals? They just looked they looked awful, know. And the Seahawks had a couple of bounces not go their way, and all of a sudden they're not winning these close games.
Right.
At home. I'm specifically talking about at home.
Yeah, no, and if we had Stephen Hauschka, things might be different. I look at that missed field goal that Myers, I think he pushed it to the right. It was only 3 points and we lost by quite a bit more than that. But you got to look at how that swings things in the game. If we make that field goal, we get 3 points. We go back down and we kick the ball to the other end of the field. That just changes the game. You know what I mean? Instead, the ball is, they have the ball right there or whatever. I don't remember at what point it was in the game. I think, was that right just before halftime, or is it?
Yeah, it was. But I agree with you. It makes you start thinking, can we win this game? When stuff like that goes, the interception for a touchdown, you miss the field goals, little things here and there. It makes you start wondering.
Yeah. Yeah, it introduces doubt, and that can be a killer. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just we've just got to, all the great things that we do. If you look back on the game, a lot of great things happened in that game. Russell Wilson was doing his best Russell Wilson, dropping back, tossing those teardrop passes that go all the way up. I mean, almost out of the stadium, and it comes down right in the breadbasket of a receiver downfield. And he had a few great balls, and a lot of great runs by Carson. But there's just a lack of consistency, even on defense. The same. We make some good plays, and then we just can't keep it going. The consistency is where we're lacking right now. We have the tools, we have the players. We just got to get more consistent, and I'm hoping that this consistency comes as we round through the middle part of the season and get into this playoff chase.
Well, the good news is we're struggling over a team that's 5-2. How many other fan bases would kill to be 5-2 at this point?
I bet the Jets would.
Oh boy, that was another big thing this weekend. There wasn't a darn football game that I watched that I enjoyed. I had to suffer through the Huskies losing. I watched that stupid. Was it Redskins? Yeah, it was Redskins 49ers.
Yeah,
Redskins looked worthless, and Seahawks, and on the other TV we had the Bears and Saints, and then tonight I could only watch like 20 minutes of the Jets. I can't watch them. They're
so
pathetic.
Bad, so bad. I mean, I watched one play. I mean, the offensive line for the Jets was porous. I mean, they ran a blitz. I think they blitzed like 3 linebackers, and every single one of them ran through the line without being touched. And what's the quarterback's name?
Darnold.
Darnold. He threw the ball. He saw those white shirts coming at him, and he threw that ball. Or were they wearing blue? I don't know, but he saw those Patriots come at him and threw that ball so quick. I mean, he just tossed it as if to say he threw that ball for his life because he saw guys come at him.
Interception?
Yes. It was one of the 4 interceptions I think he threw.
Yeah, it looked like that punt that DB could have fair caught that.
Right. It was that was a good old fashioned whipping in that game.
Yep. Well, hopefully next week there'll be much better football games, including one from our Seahawks against the Falcons. What do you think about these Atlanta Falcons?
Well, the Atlanta Falcons look like a team in complete disarray. They've got to be the NFL's surprise bad team this year. I wouldn't have guessed at all that they. What are they? Are they 1-5?
Well, yeah, 1-5.
Yeah, so I mean, I would never have guessed that the Falcons would be this bad. Now that being said, we go into their house on the road, and we haven't fared well in Atlanta in recent years. I don't remember what our recent record is against them, but I know that Atlanta brings back bad memories for me mostly. So we're going there, and their team has players, and we have a defense that's suspect. And we are, again, inconsistent. And when you're inconsistent, I think anybody can beat you. That's how you end up, going down 20-6 to the Cleveland Browns, a team that you should certainly be better than because you're inconsistent. So I'm not sleeping on this Atlanta Falcons game at all.
So don't treat this like a get well game.
Yeah, you would want it to be that. Yeah, it's a get well. You can go out there against this team, play well, and show that you can execute. And show that you could be consistent for 4 quarters and go out there and start a game strong and end the game strong. And if we can do that, then we'll be, well on our way to, really get through this middle of the part of the season.
Now, I noticed that the quarterback for the Falcons, Matt Ryan, has an ankle injury. He's not ruled out, but Matt Schaub his backup had to play the second half of Sunday's games.
Well, that would certainly make me feel better if Matt Schaub is out there, because I'm quite a bit less scared of Matt Schaub than I am of Matty Ice. So yeah, it's if I don't like to wish injury on people, but I won't be too upset if his ankle doesn't let him go.
All I can think of when I hear Matt Schaub is Richard Sherman interception to the house.
Yes, against Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a great game. That was one of those games where we battled back. We went down big and came all the way back, and we went to overtime and won the field goal, right? Is that how that game went?
Yeah.
Yes. I remember that was one of those games where you started to believe. That was one of the begin to believe games, right? Like, oh my gosh, are we like, this is the Seahawks? Like, this is us.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man, this thing about losing is I'm just ready to get the next game going. I just want it to be 10 a.m. next Sunday. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when we win, I don't mind just taking our time easing into the next weekend. But when we lose, I'm like, I wish I had. What was that movie with Adam Sandler, Click, where he could just fast forward and rewind his life? I just want to hit the button and go forward to next Sunday so I can feel good about myself again.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody out there for listening to us. Check out all our great podcasts here on YouTube, as well. Check out our great articles at SeattleSportsUnion.com, as well as our Twitter page at SeattleSportsU. And Rob, where can people find your podcast?
My podcast can be found always at shortyardage.podbean.com. The name is Short Yardage. Also, the links are able to be found on www.seattlesportsunion.com.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, and go Seahawks.
Go Hawks.